Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Today is Monday, October 1st. According to a report released in August, the temperature was 90 degrees at 2:44 p.m. on October 1st, 2017. The temperature dropped to 79 degrees by 9:56 p.m., moments before gunshots rang out on the world-famous Las Vegas Strip. Skies were partly cloudy during the day, but cleared as day turned into night. Winds reached a maximum of 21.9 miles per hour that day. Hundreds of people listened to music performed by Jason Aldean until the performance was cut short. It's been 1 year since the tragic event that took place at the Route 91 Festival on October 1st, 2017. Over 2,200 people attended the Route 91 Harvest Festival in Las Vegas. On the final night of the event, Stephen Paddock opened fire into the crowd from a room on the 32nd floor of Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. The shooter continued his deadly attack for over 10 minutes. 58 people were killed as a result of the attack. More than 850 people were injured, including first responders. The shooter took his own life as police approached the hotel room, making 59 deaths the official total as a result of the incident. So many lives were affected by this one incident of what some call domestic terrorism. 58 deaths and over 850 injured, along with all the attendees who made it to safety and the members of the Las Vegas community with support from around the world. Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval announced Friday that flags have been ordered to be at half-staff statewide today from sunrise to sunset as a mark of respect in the remembrance of victims of #OneOctober and #VegasStronger. The governor also requested that all state employees wear Vegas Strong shirts today as well. Just in a couple of hours, Student Council is asking all of us to make a handprint on a large poster to remember those who perished 1 year ago. Here's a live shot at the cafeteria. Be a part of something amazing and show your support for the victims and the Las Vegas community. StuCo also organized today to be a Vegas Stronger Day, many wearing Vegas shirts in remembrance. Today at lunch, FST News will be taking pictures and videos of everyone who participates and everybody wearing their Vegas shirts. October 1st was a defining moment for first responders in Las Vegas and in the surrounding southwestern United States. 13 agencies and 3 private ambulance companies responded to that scene and that Sunday night. The Clark County Fire Department, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and other agencies were well prepared as a result of the local investment in multi-assault counterterrorism action capabilities and hostile mass casualty incident training. According to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, the first responders credited their response to the emergency to the intense training that takes place. Las Vegas is a worldwide tourist destination. Metro works diligently with other agencies to keep our visitors safe. The agencies that were on hand during the aftermath included Metro Police, Henderson Police, North Las Vegas Police, Nevada Highway Patrol, Clark County School District Police, UNLV Police, Boulder City Police, along with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and the FBI. FEMA released what they've named 1 October After Action Report, Las Vegas Shooting. The goal of this 61-page document was to review the actions of personnel at Mandalay Bay, the concert venue, and emergency responders. Overall, the study showed that as the shooter engaged in a horrific act of mass violence, first responders made quick decisions, acting with bravery and professionalism to secure the scene and save lives. The study goes on to say the cooperation between local fire departments, law enforcement agencies, and local private ambulance companies at the scene was exceptional. The study also identified observations and recommended changes to future events after what occurred that night. When you look at the numbers, you'll see it really was a community-wide event. Those numbers are absolutely astounding, so let's break down the numbers of who responded to the October 1 shooting. From the fire departments in the area, 15 engine companies, 3 truck companies, 7 battalion chiefs, 1 multi-casualty incident unit, 1 air resource rehab unit, 161 valley-wide fire department personnel, 90 Clark County Fire Department personnel, 2 emergency medical services supervisors, 26 rescue teams, and 1 rescue squad. The Fire Alarm Office, or FAO Communications, is responsible for all the emergency calls that were handled by the fire department. 4 dispatchers when the incident began, 10 communication specialists, 1 senior communication specialist, 8 radio channels, 786 ingoing and outgoing calls placed, 60 to 70 incidents-related calls holding at one given time. The next resource is the emergency medical services response. These are the people who are on the ground risking their lives to help save others along with other first responders. There were more than 800 victims and more than 400 with gunshot wounds. 3 private ambulance companies responded with about 130 private ambulances. About 250 of those people were transported. 4 Clark County Fire Department triage and areas are set up with hundreds that were treated. Of course, some victims were transported to area hospitals by people in their private vehicles. There were also law enforcement personnel on the ground and in the air. 51 special events personnel worked overtime, 1 lieutenant, 5 sergeants, 44 officers, 1 civilian officer, 9 responding agencies, 4 SWAT teams, 50 strike teams, 2 air units, LVMPD, armored team, several hundred responding officers, 1 Bearcat, and 1 drone deployed. 911 calls were handled as quickly as possible. 11 dispatchers were on shift at the onset of the incident. 7 additional dispatchers were used for backup channels, patron response, and there were 18 communications specialists at the onset of the incident. 27 additional specialists responded within the first hour. 1,502 related calls answered in the first 2 hours of the incident. That's an average of 12 calls to 911 per minute. And in the first 2 minutes of the shooting, 50 calls were holding in the communication system. With all those people and resources responding to the October 1st shooting, the number of casualties, according to FEMA, was kept to a minimum. Had first responders not received as much training as they had, more lives would have been lost. First responders did a lot to help the people who were injured from the shooting, but the story didn't end there. Hospitals around the city were being filled with patients who were shot or trampled during the incident. There, nurses and doctors worked hard to care for everyone who walked through their doors. Spring Valley Hospital's emergency room director, Carolyn Hafen, spoke with us about her experience treating the victims.
So we didn't have a set number of what we needed because we really didn't know. We had to just manage, as an emergency room does, with the unexpected. What came in, we took care of. So it was helpful that so many people volunteered to come in. And we had doctors, we had nurses, we had people that were paramedics from out of town offering to come in. We had strangers just calling on the phone asking if we needed help. We had other hospitals in the area send us staff. We had just chaplains and church people come volunteer. We had social workers. We even had our CEO come down and hand out blankets. We had just anyone and everyone that wanted to help there. And then we had people that we had to say no, that called and said, what can I do? And being the director of the emergency room and trying to manage just minute by minute, I knew that a minute was going to turn into an hour turn into the next day, and all of these people that were working so hard would be tired, so I knew I had to tell some people no and to come in the next morning.
All of the helping hands given to the hospital were very useful in their time of need. And for those that didn't volunteer but still wanted to help, blankets, snacks, and many cases of water were donated to the hospital. Eventually, thank you letters were given as well to the men and women who deserved it most. One of these wasn't a letter, but a banner from the hospital that treated the victims of the Orlando nightclub attack. Mental health is just now becoming a focus in society. Every day there is more and more people turning to mental health professionals to help cope with many of life's difficulties. The Las Vegas Weekly Alternative magazine, published by Greenspun Media Group, says that mental health provider First Med counseled nearly 500 individuals in their first 90 days after the October 1st incident. The article goes on to say that the organization is currently counseling 120 people and anticipates an increase in the next 90 days after the one-year anniversary. The magazine also says that the Vegas Strong Resiliency Center provides referral and on-site services for those affected by October 1st. The organization helps with victim advocacy, case management, counseling, spiritual care, referrals, and more. For more information from Las Vegas Weekly, go to fstnews.com and click on the October 1 Shooting Shined on a Spotlight story on our homepage. Las Vegas Village was the concert venue along the Las Vegas Boulevard across from Mandalay Bay, Luxor, and the Excalibur. The venue has since been closed and remains dormant. According to the Clark County Property Information, the land remains owned by MGM Resorts through a subsidiary named Festival Grounds LLC. The MGM Resorts owns Mandalay Bay, Luxor, the Excalibur, among other properties around the world. According to Las Vegas Weekly, MGM has not made a decision on what to do with the land that hosted the Route 91 Festival, NBC's American Ninja Warrior, iHeartRadio, among other events. Las Vegas Weekly reports that Las Vegas Metropolitan Police was in talks about the gaming conglomerate to build a SWAT building on the property, but no further information was shared. Clark County Commission Chair Steve Sisolak told the Las Vegas Weekly that it was too soon to decide. Sisolak says that our community needs to get through the anniversary, then begin discussion about the future on the land. Hours after the October 1st shooting, Las Vegas community residents and visitors lined up for hours to donate blood. But according to the United Blood Services, now working as Vitalant, blood has a shelf life of only 42 days. It's been a year and more blood is needed to help save lives. Keep donating blood. There are several venues and locations. Visit fstnews.com and search blood donation to learn about locations nearest to Foothill. That brings us to our first break on this Monday morning. We sat down with a former Foothill teacher to find out her perspective on the October 1st incident as it relates to her new job. You're watching FST News Special Report, Vegas Stronger. We'll be right back. You just heard how many of those responders were on hand during the October 1st incident and days after. Today we have former Foothill forensic science teacher Lori Haynes, who is now a forensic scientist at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Okay, so can you basically describe what your job is on a day-to-day basis?
So as a forensic scientist, I work in the latent print detail, and my job there is to analyze fingerprints that they collect at crime scenes. The crime scene investigators usually do that collection. Sometimes the police officers do. And I compare it to known prints. So maybe when you got a job, if you've gotten a job where you had to have your fingerprints rolled, those sets of known prints kind of establish your identity because they're distinctive to you. So that's really what I do every day is I compare unknown prints to known prints and see if I can make some sort of identification.
Okay, so you were training while this was happening. Can you describe a few things that you were analyzing or seeing when you were doing that? Can you describe that for us?
Sure. Training for just in general for my job. I work as part of a larger forensic lab, so we have other different units there too, firearms and drug testing, and DNA. In my particular unit, we will get items of evidence like firearms or objects, bottles, beer cans, things like that, and we use chemicals to take fingerprints from those, and then we capture that with photography, and then I look at those knowns. Usually my officers will give me some suspects they have, and I'll compare to see if they touch that object. So what fingerprints do really is show objects that have been held by individuals, so that's kind of important in an investigation. They might also put someone at a scene, so somebody who claims they weren't there, but we have a Coke can with their fingerprints on it at the scene, then we can put them there. So that's pretty useful for our investigators.
Okay, so how was the Route 91 shooting? How is it different from something you do on a regular day-to-day basis?
So the Route 91 shooting, because of the nature of a mass casualty, is a little different than what we would encounter regularly. Our crime scene investigators did respond, but because it's so massive and because the rest of the crime in the town didn't stop. You know, we still have everything that happens here, which is a crazy town. We required some assistance, so we worked with lots of different law enforcement agencies, particularly the FBI. The FBI has some expertise in this sort of thing, in these massive crime scenes, because it's an average crime scene may be one location, maybe a couple. Here, this crime scene was huge, as you can imagine, and so it was something that required more manpower. So the lab in this case worked in assistance with the FBI. They have their own forensic laboratory. There are some things that our lab can do because we're here locally that they would need help with, and that's kind of the role we played.
Okay, and then for you, what was the most difficult part of participating in the case?
The most difficult part of participating was that I wasn't really allowed to participate. Probably like most of you guys, I woke up that morning to like a million news feeds coming on my phone, and my friends from across the country saying, "Are you okay?" I didn't really, that was like 4 in the morning. I didn't really know what had happened at that point. And so as I started to realize what had happened, finally this massive thing we've been thinking about finally did happen here. I was, that was overwhelming. So what am I going to do when I get there? What can I do to help? And so I was just thinking about it. I drove, and as I drove on the 215 to work, I could see the Mandalay Bay, and there's that window open, and it's like iconic feeling of this, the drapery blowing, and like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And I couldn't do anything because I was in training. I could watch, especially my crime scene colleagues, and hear and watch what was happening with them and know that they were there for days on end working. But I think that was the hardest part for me, was that I was helpless.
Mm-hmm. So you told me earlier off camera about you guys every Friday wear Las Vegas Strong shirts.
We do.
Is there any other things that they have helped you with, or counseling, things like that?
Sure. This was, obviously, it was very significant to the community. So Metro has been very proactive. There were so many officers involved. A lot of the officers were already there because they work events like that, just as security. So there were so many different components of our police officers that were involved in this, and then we lost one of our officers, as well as some family members of other officers were injured. So they were very proactive, along with the community being supportive for PTSD and different experiences that those folks had had. All year we've been they've worked really hard to make sure that everyone felt supported. And I mentioned earlier too that the community was so supportive. Our crime scene folks had food everywhere. People just brought them like breakfast, lunch, dinner. At one point there were those little guys with the massage chairs sitting there for them when they came back to give them massages. They even brought, this was really cute, a little petting zoo over for them to come and cuddle bunnies and bring their kids to spend some time like away from the difficulty. So in that sense, I saw just a lot of really amazing community support.
Okay, and then do you know anything that they're doing for the 1 year? Like, is there something all of you guys are involved with?
We are. There's actually one major commemorative event happening at our headquarters on early in the morning on October, but we are also trying to support as many of the other memorials that are happening around town. So, and that would encourage you guys to do that too. Maybe you guys are doing something like that here too.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. I know it's sometimes hard to talk about those things, especially on camera. But with that, after the break, we will tell you more about how the memorial underneath the Welcome to Las Vegas sign will be preserved forever. We'll be right back.
Braver.
Closer.
Kinder.
Prouder.
We are Vegas stronger. We are Vegas stronger.
We are Vegas stronger.
All of us are Vegas stronger, and we make Vegas stronger every day.
Welcome back. As the community, nation, and world healed after the events of October 1st, many exhibits were set up in Southern Nevada. FST News is here to take you to one such exhibit. Good morning, Tristan.
Good morning, guys. After the tragic shooting on October 1st, everyone across the nation gathered to remember and honor the victims. Although the memorial couldn't stand forever, there is a special place in the county where they are on display for all to see. After the Las Vegas shooting on October 1st, 2017, many people around the nation and in the Las Vegas community came together to make a memorial for the people that were lost and who were injured or affected by the shooting. Although the memorial at the Welcome to Las Vegas sign was up for a while, they weren't able to keep it up forever. The materials from the memorial that could be preserved were transferred to the Clark County Museum. The administrator of the Clark County Museum system, Mark Hall-Patton, talked to us about what is on display and open to the public.
These artifacts range from painted rocks to stuffed animals, to candles, to flowers, to artworks, to rosaries, to t-shirts, to hats. It runs the gamut. There's no one thing, there's no one individual type. It's whatever meant something to the individual who chose to leave it.
Mark Hall-Patton also explained to us how this is an exhibit of the memorial and how its purpose is to inform future generations about how we dealt with this tragedy.
This is an exhibit, and I strive to emphasize that. This is not a memorial. The memorial is what was at the sign. The memorial was what was at Reno Street. This is an exhibit of those memorials. So what will happen when this exhibit comes down is we will house it correctly so that it can be preserved for the future. The whole point of bringing all of this to the museum was so that it could be preserved in such a way that 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, we could look back, not us, of course, we won't be here, you won't be here, but our progeny will be here, and they will be able to look back and say, how did we deal with this? And they will be able to see this and find that out. You know, that's important. This will mean something. This will help us to understand ourselves.
If you're interested in seeing the Route 91 exhibit, the Clark County Museum is located off Boulder Highway. The exhibit is on display until October 28th. After that, the display is going to be put into storage until next year. For Kaylin Nielsen and Jacob Thomas, I'm Tristan Meng, FST News. Zoe, back to you.
Finally, on this day of remembrance, it's important to appreciate the respect. It's appropriate that this week is designated Respect Week. Across all schools in the Clark County District, a variety of events will take place across the district. There are also several events to highlight the importance of respect. Later today, Key Club is setting up tables in the quad to respect the campus by writing thank you notes to our custodian staff. There have been short staff recently and have worked diligently to get to campus late. Also, if you want to pay it forward to a teacher, you can also do one of those on campus. Thank you so much for joining us today on this special FST News report. As you go through today, the week and life, say something nice to people. Remember all of the support that poured out from this community after the horrific acts that occurred 1 year ago. We'll be back tomorrow with all your news from around the Hill. From all of us here at FST News, have a good morning.